Hello and welcome to the Womb Centered Healing Podcast. I'm Sama Morningstar and I have Regina here with me today. Thank you so much, Regina, for joining me on the podcast. I would love for you to introduce yourself a little bit more and let us know what womb-centered healing means to you. I know you're a doula. I'd love to hear about that and anything else you have to share around that.
Sure. So thank you so much for having me today. My name is Regina, and I'm a birth and postpartum doula. I'm also a childbirth educator. And what womb healing means to me is understanding the level of empowerment and control that goes into birth. I think that a large portion of that is kind of why I went into even becoming a doula. I am a mother of 6, and each of those pregnancies and birthing experiences were completely different. But the very first one, I remember, just being so scared. I was very young when I had my first child, just 21. And going in for receiving care, it felt like my doctor wasn't very proud of the fact that I was having a child at 21. And I sensed that through the way that they spoke to me, the way that they just kind of, flung papers, rushed through our appointment times. I mean, I would come in with like a list of questions. I don't know what to expect with this. What do I do with that? This is all very new to me. But the level of care that I was receiving, it wasn't the best. And at the time, I didn't know anything about a doula. After I had my daughter, I suffered a lot from postpartum depression. And I remember telling a loved one, I was like, I think I'm depressed, because I started to read articles about it. There was actually a survey at the Children's Hospital, and they were paying moms like $25 gift cards to do these surveys on postpartum depression. And so the lady at the end, she said, after we ask these questions, if I feel like you have postpartum depression, I'll let you know and I'll point you to some resources. So we got through with the interview. We did the survey. She said, I think you may be suffering from postpartum depression. I told a loved one, and they're like, don't tell people you have postpartum depression. They'll take your child away from you. That makes you like an unfit mother. And so there's this mentality, I think, sometimes, and I don't know in every community, but sometimes in the African American community, that you have to be, so strong and so well put together. You can't be vulnerable. Like, you have to just be strong, independent, get over it. We've all done it. We've all been there. And for some reason, this was just so new to me. And I just felt like I needed support or love or something from somebody. And I really wasn't receiving it. So going forward, like knowing what that experience was like next pregnancy, it's like, I got to put some things in place so that this overwhelming feeling doesn't come over me again. But it did. I don't know if it was just like, hormonal triggers or whatever came over me again. But I said, maybe I shouldn't tell anybody about it, because what happened the last time you told somebody about it? So for me, when I did finally learn about what a doula was and learned about the options for us to support women in the postpartum, that was my biggest draw. Yes, I would love to support women in birth, and I do. But that postpartum period is so important to me, just for the mother, for the care, for the restoration, for the healing. So when we talk about womb care, that's what it means to me. It's like this opportunity to just take some time, think about and reflect on your experiences. What just happened? You just gave birth. You just opened your entire body to a whole nother human being. Everything inside of you has changed. And there can't be this level of bias that's like, you have to be stronger than you think. We push women, I think, too soon to get back to work too, to just do everything. It's like this snapback culture. You got to hurry up and get back to it. You got to hurry up and get back in the clothes that you used to wear, or hurry up and get back to this glamorous, way of doing things. And it's like, that's not your average mother's experience. So I think being mindful of what actually occurs in our body when we give birth, acknowledging that, educating women on that. A lot of women I know that I speak to about birth and education, I'm an educator at heart. So I'm always focused on, do you know what this is? Do you know what they're putting in your child, what the eye drops mean? Do you know what this vaccination means? Do you know what this is? They're like, I didn't even know that was happening to my baby. Once they take the baby over to the warmer. Most mothers don't know what checkups they're doing. What are they doing over there? Because they're still in the bed. So just kind of going through these steps from conception through birth, what happens at labor and delivery, what's going to happen after, what are your options, what are your choices, I think gives a sense of empowerment to women where they feel like, now I really know what's happening. Now I have an opportunity to speak up and say, you know, you didn't talk to me about this. I've been doing my research at home, so I know about it. But maybe we haven't discussed it, or you haven't told me that I have options when I know that I do. So walking into this kind of experience, I think, empowers women as a whole. It educates women. But then we also get to really love and support women in the postpartum, which is the biggest thing for me. I've been studying various cultures and how these cultures really cater to love on their women, feed their women, wash their women. And here we are, it's like, 3 days at the hospital. Good luck to you. Good luck to you and your baby. See you back in 6 weeks to choose your birth control options. That's not enough care for our mothers. And a lot of mothers are doing it in isolation. Like, why are we doing this to each other? So for me, all of this process is just a healing process. And it's a way to connect to women who may be alone. Maybe their significant other is going back to work. Maybe they don't have family in the area. And they are just them and their baby at home with the blues, and they don't have to be alone.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for bringing this awareness to your community and to the world. I wonder, you had plenty of chances with your 6 babies to discover postpartum care for yourself. Did you have a birth where you actually feel like you received adequate or even abundant, generous, luxurious postpartum care? Did you manage that after 6 births?
I think so, with the 6th.
Oh, with the last one, did you gradually increase? Could you tell the story of what you started to implement with each successive birth?
So knowing ahead of time that this was going to occur, typically it occurs like as soon as I get back home. It's like you're at the hospital, people are waiting on you hand and foot. You can call downstairs and get a warm meal, or you can ask the nurse, can you hand me ice chips? Like, there feels like there's someone there to serve you. When you get home, if you don't have anybody there to serve you, you're getting up and doing all these things for yourself. And I think as I had more children, my children don't care that I need postpartum healing. They just want their mama. And when they want mama, they've spilled juice. You got to go in there and clean it up. Like, there was just no extra support person that was there to assist me. So I think at the time I realized the dishes don't get done today. The dishes don't get done today. Like, I don't have to have my home in the same pristine order. But I think in the back of my mind, I knew that people were coming to visit the baby. So my mind was always thinking, is it clean for guests? I'm thinking,
oh my goodness,
that same way, like, is everything look okay for everybody to come? Am I looking nice? They're going to be sitting here, and I would be so exhausted, like trying to sit up on the couch and hold the baby. And, people kind of overstayed their welcome. I didn't know when to shut the visit down. It was like that kind of like, who's in control of this? Who can speak for me? I think over time, I just realized, we're really tired. Thank you so much for coming. I need some rest. I'm really tired. Like, I would just have to learn how to speak up. And I think over time, I learned how to do that. I learned to stop trying to clean, like ask for help from whoever is over there. Hey, before you leave, if you love me, can you help to wipe down the kitchen counter?
Oh, thank goodness.
Like, please help. But people don't understand. And that's why I said part of what I incorporate in our conversations when we have our prenatal meetings. Don't try to figure this thing out. I didn't know about meal train. Like, people can come and, volunteer to bring food for you. People would like sometimes offer, but it's never anything nutritious. It's like, hey, I'm at Burger King. You want something? Like, no, I don't. But it's a way of creating awareness for I think it's more so for the mother, but also for the circle of the mother. Is you may be at Chick-fil-A and it may be really convenient for me to have a meal today, but is it something that's going to help bring nutrients into my body? Or mothers who are nursing, you need to have adequate vitamins and nutrients to even support an adequate breast milk flow. Like, you have to have good nutritious food. You need to have water. You need to have juice on hand, crackers. Like, don't ever come and visit a mother postpartum without fruit in your hand. Like, it's nothing to stop by the grocery store, grab a couple tangerines and bananas and water bottles and say, we're coming to see the baby, but I also brought you a few things that you may need. And so I think over time, I learned kind of what I needed. And I learned that I needed to prepare these things ahead of time so that I don't have to go to the store a week after I've had the baby. There have been times, it's been a few days after I've had the baby, you know, we're still clothing shopping or we're back out at Walmart. And it's like, this is crazy. And I was always like very, very dizzy. I remember being out at the store and just feeling very, very weak. And it was a matter of realizing I'm not giving myself enough time to heal. And my baby is probably exposed to all of the germs of the world with us out at the store, trying to get last minute stuff that we didn't get before the baby got here. And so I think over time, I just realized, like, how long would you like to be able to rest? Okay, if you're going to be at home, you know that you're going to need, I tell people all the time, the thing you overthink is toilet tissue. Like, you know, you're going to have an abundance. There's a lot of extra bleeding. You're wiping, you're cleaning, you're going back and forth to the bathroom, drinking all that water to stay hydrated. Make sure you go and get bulk of everything that you're going to need so that you don't have to go out to the store. And that's a part of things that you can even add to your baby registry, not just getting onesies and things like that, but what do you need as a mother at the home so that you don't have to go to the store 1 week or 2 weeks after you've just given birth to a baby. And also not being afraid to ask for help. I've started to learn how to do that. I was looking for ways to really focus in on my self-care. So I've started journaling. I started getting those adult coloring books with the colored pencils, because I know that that's just quiet, like meditation time. I found apps that I really love that help to focus in on self-care, love, where you're having like gentle music playing and somebody speaking these positive affirmations. I love things like that because it allows me the space to just quietly meditate. I don't have to disturb anybody around me, so I can put those headset in my ear and just listen to that, and it brings me back to a place of calm. Taking time to just cry when it does feel overwhelming, and doing just things that I really love that help to bring me joy and peace, and just putting those things and elements into place. One of the biggest things I think kind of contributes to depression is not getting out and not being able to do what you used to do, but also just getting out, literally, if it's just in the front of your house, to get some sunshine, to get some light on your face, to feel the warmth of the sun. And if you just need to take 5 minutes to get fresh air, breathe, get a moment out of your environment, come back into the space. All of those things I started to incorporate. And I think that really, really helped on this last time, especially the part about getting out and getting some sunshine. We don't have to go to the store, but we can step out. The sunlight is good for baby, especially babies who are jaundiced, getting that good sunlight. And I know a lot of breastfeeding babies tend to come home with jaundice, and they tell you anyway, put the baby near the light or let the baby get sunlight. But sometimes it's good. Just walk down the driveway, walk back up, get a little bit of air. You guys can go back into the house and do what it is that you normally do. But giving myself enough adequate rest and time, like preparing siblings. I know for all of my kids, they get really, really excited about that new baby that's coming. But again, they're not thinking about mom's postpartum care or the fact that I may need some extra rest, but they do the very best that they can with learning how to help. If mom needs some wipes and there's, we ran out in here, I'll go get it so that you don't have to get up. So kind of incorporating that so where it's not you sitting down saying mom needs postpartum care, but before the baby gets here, mom is going to need a lot of extra hands and a lot of listening ears. It's like my oldest, sometimes I'm like, can you fix me some tea with honey? She'll know I know how my mom likes her tea. And she knows if, I need something, she'll always come and be there to help and support. Talk to my husband a lot about, the fast food is not good food for us to have. We need to have like soups and things in place. Even if I freeze them, even if I put them in the freezer bags, you can just drop it in a slow cooker and go on with the day. And later, if I need some, scoop some into a bowl and we're ready to go. So a lot of it's preparation, which I didn't have the first time. I didn't know what it was or what I was going to need. So with parents, even if they're not first-time parents, I'm always like, think back to what has previously occurred after you had that baby. What went well? What didn't go so well? What do you want to have happen differently this time? Most mothers don't know about belly binding or herbal baths or yoni steams or all these things that we can literally do with herbs to heal our bodies on top of everything else. So I think the education piece is so critical. Like, do you know, let me tell you about these things, and then offer them to mothers. If you find that you need help, if you find that you're all alone or something's not right within your body, reach out to somebody. I've sometimes consulted moms who aren't even my clients and just talk to them. And eventually they're like, you've been so helpful. You know, how do I bring you on to do extra work? Great. That's what I would love, is for them to feel enough love and enough support to want to work with me full time. I think that makes a difference. I've even gone to the hospitals and I've asked the education departments, what do you have by way of postpartum doula information or even lactation consultant information? Once a mother leaves here, she doesn't know where to go. Not all moms know where to go. Some will have, done enough research to know, but most mothers don't. And they need to know, like afterwards, they may not know to type in postpartum doula. They may be looking for mother's care or, healing or whatever terms that they use. I said, we have to do better as an educational institution, which is a hospital still too, on educating our moms. You send them home with these thick packets. Nothing in there speaks to what they should do once they get home. It's just kind of like, we've done all we need to do with you. Now you're on your own. But one piece of paper can make the world of difference for a mother.
Right. Whew. So much in what you shared. And, most women don't have 6 births to learn it all on. So you are really blessed in how many babies gifted you with their presence in your life, that you could really develop this for yourself. So I'm so grateful that you're sharing this, because I'm a massage therapist, and I invariably get women on my table who are complaining later on in life, after their babies often are grown, but sometimes while they're still mothering their children at various times, and they're having health issues, particularly structural issues in the pelvis, that they're wanting my support with. And I asked them, what kind of postpartum care did you have? And they said, nothing. Most of the time they say nothing. And it's appalling to me. But I can understand why that is, because we've lost this wisdom, the wisdom of the midwives, the wisdom of the herbalists, that of women taking care of other women. And so, we go to the baby shower of a sister, and it's all about, talking about the name of the baby and guessing how many, I don't know about baby showers you've been to, but the ones that I've been to, there's little games that you play to guess how big the mother's belly is, and all these silly things that are fun and lighthearted, but they don't address the kind of support that the mother's really going to need, and they don't have much depth as far as and sometimes I'm imagining that if there are more experienced mothers that might offer, there might be in the social aspect of it, they might offer, but I've never seen, and I haven't been to a whole lot, but I've seen that many doulas and birth education people are trying to sort of change the baby shower traditions to be more helpful and be like have more depth, for example, so giving mothers more support for the inner reflection and positive intentions and blessings for the birth process, um, and creating ongoing support with the women's circle. So do you give your clients, your doula client, your birth doula clients, guidance on how to and education on how they can implement things, say, in their baby shower, in their circle of support for postpartum care for themselves, like the meal trains and saying, you know, setting up, okay, I know you all going to want to come visit the baby. I want you to bring food, and I want you to plan to spend some time cleaning the house for me. And like setting that up ahead of time, so you're not just surprising people when they come up by saying, by the way, can you wipe the counter? Instead, they already know that they're planning, and they brought, you know, their eco-friendly cleaning supplies, hopefully, that aren't going to be, you know, they know where they are in your house. Maybe you've already come, the group already comes during, you know, either they set up a time before you go in to help all the ladies come over and help clean the house and get it ready for before the birth, maybe even a couple of times, right? They all come over and clean the house for you. And so these types of traditions of really giving real care and real help to our sisters, we've even lost that. We've even lost that in this insulated, isolated, you are responsible for your own family, and I'm just going to take care of mine. And we're almost in competition about how well we're doing, instead of how can we support each other in a community. And so I'd really love to hear how you're working with reestablishing that sisterly support and community support for the moms you work with.
So I agree 100%. It's a conversation that needs to happen before the baby gets here. Mm-hmm. And it's one of the things a lot of doulas I know focus on creating the birth plan, sharing the birth plan with everybody who's going to be there for, you know, your OB, the nurses, and the staff. But I said, have you all sat down and created a postpartum plan? Because that's more important than even your birth plan. Your birth plan is for a moment in time, yes. But postpartum is the longest period of time. So without a plan stepping into that, we miss this huge opportunity to really sit down and create an experience that you desire. So we have a whole prenatal session that's all about postpartum. We sit down and we create a plan. And so if I ask a mother, who's going to be able to come by and support you in the morning, think of everybody that you can think to ask who can drop by breakfast. Think of anybody who, if you have an issue in the morning, passes by your house on the way to work that you can reach out to. Think about if you're not feeling like yourself, who can you call and speak to that's going to offer an encouraging word, a soft and gentle voice, who's not judging you, who's not judging your situation, because we don't want to call those people. They're just going to end up, you know, you getting riled up and not feeling any better. So now they're thinking, like, who is that person in my life? And ironically enough, I'm extremely introverted. And a lot of the clients that I get, they're like, I don't really have anybody, or I don't have any friends, or I don't have a circle. And I'm like, I get it. But now we need to think about somebody. And if you don't have a somebody, I could be your somebody, right. You know, explaining to them, they're not thinking, you can come by and help clean. I can help do whatever you need for you to be emotionally well enough to take care of your child. And if the burden for you is, if your house is clean, if you have a hot, nutritious meal, then yes, that's the way that I can show support for you. And so I think in their minds, they're kind of confused. Like, do you come and do you sit with the baby? Is it like a nanny situation, or are you there for me? So a part of that too is like during that session, those are the things that we talk about. What are our list of things that you could ask a postpartum doula for help with or support with? And in the meantime, you are a woman. Like, that's the definition of a doula. You're a servant for women. So yes, it's a pleasure and it's an opportunity to serve you. And I love in my mind knowing that that value system is there, as I want to be for somebody what nobody was for me. So I feel like I want to go above and beyond when I get to support women in the postpartum, because it's such a critical time. And I feel sometimes in my mind, I'm feeling such a void that exists in our community. And if this is my one person I get to help, for this moment in time, it's an honor for me to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So we go through all aspects. I said, I don't want anything unturned. Start to think about birth control, start to think, your spouse, you don't want to forget about them too, because that's a part of postpartum too. If you have a spouse that's disgruntled because there's no intimacy there for 6 weeks, we don't have those conversations either. That's like, you're expected to figure that out on your own too. How are you still creating moments with your spouse? Yes, you have a new baby, but this is still this person here who you love too, who needs you. Mm-hmm. You all need to figure out, how are you going to make time to connect when the new baby gets here as well? I mean, we break it down in every single way. And if they start to say, I don't know, or I need some more time to think about it, I'm like, it's much better that you think about that 5 or 6 months than 5 or 6 days or weeks postpartum and struggle through it on your own. So we go through all of that. And I think it's extremely important to do it, because is do it early on in your pregnancy as you can, because it gives you enough time to really give it good thought and to really try to put some things in place. I tell people about all the shortcuts. There are laundry services that will pick up your laundry, wash it, fold it, deliver it back to you. Look and see where that's happening in your area. Amazon has home cleaning services. You do not have to get up, even if you have nobody in your area. Find out who can come by, and it's not as expensive as you think, depending on the size of your home. $40 for somebody to come by, and do a basic general cleaning. That peace of mind, I would pay that all day. Like, think about all the services that exist now in this world that we live in, where people can come by and drop off. You have Instacart for groceries. You have Uber Eats for food. You don't have to have yucky food. You can find a local place that has good, wholesome, nutritious foods. And if you don't have anybody to help prepare things for you, or if you're, sometimes women are pregnant alone, they've chosen to they want to be a mom and they don't have anybody else. There's no partner there. They've chosen other options. You can still have nutritious meals, a clean house, all the things that we listed. But if you're not giving it intentional thought, sometimes you'll think, I'll never have that because I don't have anybody. And that's just not true. But sometimes it's getting access to the right resource, or getting access to the information that you're just not aware of. And that's, to me, where that education piece comes in. And like, when we talk about postpartum, plan to be here for like an hour or two, because we're going to talk in depth about this, and we're going to look at everything. I don't like to even leave it up to moms to, I'll do that when I get home. No, take 2 seconds right now on your phone, put your email and password in, at least set it up. Because I know once you set it up, it's going to start sending you emails. Hey, you haven't made your meal train yet. Hey, did you forget about this? It's on your radar. And I know that if you take 2 seconds to do it now, you'll be so grateful for it later on. So yeah, there's definitely options there. And when people think about that, then they know too, okay, I know that I didn't put anything for me on the registry. That was one thing that I can't say did go very well in the first pregnancy. When we had the baby shower, everybody gave me gifts too. I was like, you're supposed to give gifts to the mom. They said, here are some nice shirts for you to wear, because your body is not going to bounce back after you have that baby. You're still going to look very pregnant for the next couple of weeks. So they bought me some nice loose fitting shirts. So they said, these shirts are very forgiving. Don't feel like if you do have to go out for 1 week baby checkup, like most moms have to do, here's a nice shirt or leggings and things like that. So I know I got things by way of clothes, but if we could do more of that during showers, just putting that little bug in mom's ears, they'll start to think to themselves too, what can I request or what can I ask for on my registry that people can get that's helpful for me too. And typically they start to implement those things.
Yeah. And, hearing you talk about all these details that we have to, of caring for mothers, that we have to convince moms to do for themselves even, and talk them into it, and share and impart the importance of it. It just speaks to how we've been conditioned to consider the mom's needs as the least important thing.
Yes.
And the last thing to even consider, if at all. And yet there's been huge studies that show that healthy mothers are crucial to a healthy society. Healthy, well cared for mothers. We don't need studies to know that either. I mean, it just makes perfect sense. Who is caring for a new baby from the moment it's conceived? That mother's health and well-being is directly influencing the development of that baby. And if she's fearful, stressed out, any of that, that baby is being formed under the blueprint of being fearful and stressed out. And that blueprint will be with them for the rest of their lives. If that mother is under stress or having postpartum depression because she doesn't have enough support, that blueprint of not having enough support, being depressed, will stay with that baby for the rest of its life. Unless, of course, we, as many people are, we're developing ways to recover from, and that's part of the work that I do as a womb-centered healing practitioner. We're developing ways to heal adults from the traumas, and I call it traumas, even though it doesn't have to be a big traumatic event. It can be the neglect that happens, that the mother is doing the best that she can, but she has so little support, and she's so emotionally depleted and physically depleted from the birth process, with so little support and not knowing how to take care of herself, and certainly no one else takes care of her, and she doesn't know how to ask for help, right? Then that produces a level of neglect and an emotional milieu that baby, that infant is growing up in, that as adults, many of our ailments can be traced back to. And so we're learning now how to heal adults from the fact that their mothers were not supported. And that can be from just, low grade sort of neglect to advanced abuse on them, any mother that has either abandoned or abused their child or harmed their child or themselves. It's because they probably have generations of not enough support. And so not supporting mothers in a systematic way, in fact, abusing mothers. I mean, we could even talk about that, where pregnant women are the most likely to be abused physically by their spouses and emotionally by their spouses, just because of, the whole masculine thing and the whole way that men are not supported to be healthy fathers either. And so it just speaks to the fact that this we're having to reclaim piece by piece that yes, it is important, in fact, essential, and that the mother has to devise a way to get the support she needs. I interviewed a doula in India recently on the podcast. So if you're listening to this and you want to hear this, her name is Neela, and you can scroll back in the podcast episodes to listen to that interview. She talked about how in India there is a culture, and maybe you've studied some of Indian cultural traditions, but there are many cultures in the world today still that have a family community system still intact, where there's a system in place that everyone does and everyone just knows how to do, where the woman, when she's getting ready to give birth in India, in the places where it's still intact, she goes to her mother's house, she gives birth there. Well, now it's become, unfortunately, illegal in India for women to have a home birth. We talked about that too. So if she goes to a lot of people, that's the only resource they have is home birth. So now these midwives that are serving and providing home births are now criminals, right? So the point of this whole part of the conversation is it has these traditions intact, and yet in the Indian, there's an impulse in the Indian culture to become more westernized, so more, become more affluent, and stepping away from these traditions of motherly care without an awareness of the detriment of losing that. And so I feel very passionate about making sure this information of look at what happens when we lose that. And when we go down that road, it's not all it's cracked up to be. Okay, there's a lot of problems. There's a lot of health issues, long-term health issues that women accrue. And I even say to my clients, you can go back and do retroactive postpartum care. I don't care how old your baby is. Your baby can be an adult. I want to do retroactive postpartum care with my mother now at 48, and she's almost 70, right? I want to go and like go stay somewhere at a retreat center for 30 days, just bonding with my mother and having people wait on her hand and foot to retroactively give her the care that she needed when I was born that she didn't have. And I fully, recommend this to my massage clients all the time. I don't care how old their babies are. For each one of those babies, you need to go and have a 30 days or 40 days at a retreat center where someone waits on you hand and foot, and you and your baby, however old they are, just the two of you, bond for those 30 days. You don't have to breastfeed them now if they're an adult. If they're past that, if you've already weaned them, you don't have to go back to breastfeeding them. But there should be lots of touching and bonding and communion and reflection and love while you're waited on, hand and foot. I want to prescribe that to every woman who's ever had a baby. Can you imagine the world that we would live in?
Yes.
How the world would change if mothers were luxuriously cared for and revered for this essential service for the survival of the species of giving birth to new people and nurturing them into adulthood. And if we had that revered and supported and honored, imagine the increased health and well-being of every adult. I mean, all of society's issues and problems can be traced back to this. So, okay, I'm gonna.
No, but I love that you said that, because I think that that's a misconception too. It's like, when is postpartum over? When does it end? Is it 6 weeks? Is it 3 months? Is it after your baby turns a year? If you're still going through something and your baby is 7, you're still postpartum. There's still things that you haven't healed from that birth and pregnancy. So there is no end time to postpartum care. And I think that's the conception. It's over at 6 weeks. So I can't call anybody because that 6-week mark has passed or 12-week mark has passed. And it's like, who told you that there was a deadline?
And if you didn't have the care that you needed, for example, if you didn't get the nutrition that you needed, if because your system wasn't set up or you didn't know you could ask for that. Well, and even healthy, nutritious meals like you're talking about, where it's a warm, well-balanced meal with all the nutrition, there are still trace minerals and nutrients that become particularly important for women postpartum, that even in the healthiest of organic, plant-based meals, with a little bit of animal products in there might not be enough of the trace minerals. And so that's when the herbalism comes into play, like you were talking about with the herbal baths, where you're absorbing the nutrients directly into your skin, directly into your bloodstream, directly into your pelvis. Sitting in sitz baths, doing the steaming is another way that those herbal nutrients can go directly to the tissues that need them, that are depleted, that just pumped out this baby and got all stretched out and need to be tonified and drawn back in. So many women suffer for years from prolapse of their organs after childbirth. And there's so many ways that can be treated through physical therapy, through different ways of exercising that are specific for that issue. Yoga, meditation, just, the call it biomystical awareness of, well, what does that mean that my organs are falling out? That means that, oh, maybe there's some way that I can hold my center in an emotional sense and in a spiritual sense. Can I really connect with my center and have it be integral to who I am instead of just right? And so there's just so much more care available than we can even conceive of, that of course most moms today, they're not going to get all of that in that first 30 days because they didn't even know it existed. So a lot of women end up having structural issues from childbirth without the proper care to bring the hips back together. You talk about belly wrapping. There's also hip tie practices and closing the bones therapies that that help the body put itself back together and help all the tendons and ligaments and muscles to get put back into place. And without that, you have instability in the pelvis and in the spine that results in down the line in greater instances of sacroiliac pain, also known as sciatica, all kinds of structural ailments that aren't even in the pelvis, shoulder, neck pain. I'm a massage therapist, so I see it all the time and trace it back to the central structural bone and musculature in the pelvis. That's the center of gravity for our body, and that's where everything stems from. So imbalances there, instability there, loose ligaments that never got loose muscles that never got retonified, tight ones that got traumatized and are like, holding on one side, but too loose on the other side, then pretty soon your whole body kind of is compensating for that. And women are on my table all the time. I'm like, you need to go get, postpartum bone closing ceremony at 60 years old. They had their baby 20 years ago, And so I'm so glad that you're so passionate about this as well. In fact, there's a book called The Fourth Trimester. Have you read that book? It's a recent book.
I have that one.
And I would love to hear your insights on this, because I haven't read the book, but I was listening to the author's podcast for quite some time, and she talked about it a lot. And the sense that I got, what really spoke to me and what she was sharing about it, is that during that 30-day period of women healing, recovering from childbirth, my sense of it is the womb itself is on a, if supported to do this, can be in a heightened healing mode. Our wombs have an amazing power to heal our whole being, emotionally, spiritually, and physically. We give that power to other people all the time. Women are constantly, taking care of the baby, taking care of the spouse, taking care of the friends, the community members, all of that. We're taking care of everybody else. When we allow that to be turned back in on ourselves, the healing power of our womb can heal and prevent future ailments down the line. Whereas if we don't give that, it gets more and more depleted, and that's how women end up with higher and higher levels of chronic diseases, chronic like structural issues, autoimmune diseases, mystery illnesses that the doctors don't know the cause of. I'm going to tell you right now what the cause of it is all those babies they birthed and having inadequate postpartum care. Okay, you got me going. I would love to hear your reflections on this. I'm equally passionate about postpartum care for women, as you can tell.
Yeah, so I haven't finished the book yet, but a huge part of what prompted that is because I was starting to feel that imbalance. Like people would say to me, "Oh, you still have your duck walk." Like how we walk with the
your duck walk, yes.
But in the last two, I suffered terrible sciatic nerve pain.
Mm-hmm.
I would go to the doctor, my appointment, crying. I'm like, is there some kind of medicine? Is there some special stretch? This has never happened before. What's happening? But it's just like you said, I didn't know those terms before about the closing of the bones. I didn't know to have on my girdle. Sometimes I have babies in the summer. That girdle was hot. I'm like, I don't want to have this thing on today. So I wasn't really supporting my womb or bringing things up. I remember as a younger girl, I studied dance. My dance teacher was always like, pretend like there's a puppet, pull everything in from the center. So I always had this really good understanding of muscle structure and how our internal muscles are structured in our legs and the bones and all of this. So to me, when people were saying, you still have this duck walk, I'm like, something is imbalanced, just like you said. I'm like, I shouldn't still be waddling when I walk. It's not because of the weight. It's literally because something in me is off center. And it's just like you said, if you don't put those things into place with getting massages, going to the chiropractor. I didn't know that I could go to the chiropractor all while I was pregnant to receive help for sciatic nerve pain. I just didn't, because I had never experienced it before. I had never made the connection between the two. So I think the more that we discuss possible scenarios of what could happen if this hasn't been taken care of, or putting more things out there. If you're experiencing this, it could be a result of not having received adequate care, not having had your bones wrapped, not having had your stomach wrapped. And so a lot of that, what I still have to deal with is diastasis recti. So all of these abdomens are now protruding because after having a really big baby without some kind of support there, that muscle just sits there. And what you don't know what else can develop inside of all of these muscles that are supposed to be back in your body that are still sitting out year after year after year after year. Then much later on in life, when I'm having this medical issue that never got treated, that was never taken care of. Your muscles were never toned. I know some people don't readily go back to the gym. I know that that's been a struggle for me. It's like to get out of the house and get to the gym, but you got to put something in place where you're stretching, where you're doing some kind of home DVD. We do everything live streaming now. There's tons of stuff on YouTube that you can do, but you have to activate those muscles, because once they get loose and they're not being used, they're not activated, it leads to this entire thing. So I definitely agree with you. In that fourth trimester, there's so much. It's like on top of a whole human, there's so much that you have to think about as it relates to you, emotional, physical, relational, with your spouse, with your friends. Where's the connection? You want to get back to going to work or going, doing all the things that you used to do. There's so much there that without a plan, a physical plan in place, you'll miss it. So definitely what you said there about restructuring and healing the body, that needs to go into a plan too. Can you go once a month and go get a back massage? Can you go to the chiropractor just to make sure everything's okay? Or if you're feeling this is who you can go to. This is who's in your area. But I definitely agree with you. If neglected and not treated, things just only get worse from there, and you can absolutely trace it back to not receiving adequate time to heal.
Right. So it produces ongoing health challenges for the mother, as well as the baby not having that adequate postpartum care. And it feels so important to me to get that message out and repeat that again. So inadequate postpartum care, meaning anything less than being waited on hand and foot. Okay, this is my definition of adequate postpartum care. Anything less than being waited on hand and foot for 40 days after you give birth, at least. At least, where you could just lay in bed the whole time with your baby, nursing your baby, bonding with your baby. You would get nutritious, and then anything less than that, and also having massage therapists, acupuncturists, herbalists giving their services to you to make sure you have adequate nutrition and physical structural care that are specializing in postpartum care, getting your bones and your structure back into place, getting all of your nutritions, your trace minerals back up to adequate levels for your recovery process. You might even look into placenta encapsulation. Right. I imagine, do you do that, or do you refer people to someone? So getting those nutrients back that were lost in the placenta. The placenta has a ton of nutrients that were being fed to the baby, that when you ingest them, then that, and animals do this they eat their placenta, and the encapsulation helps us as humans who, not looking real appealing, that placenta, for some real, out there, some of us birth workers think it looks delicious, right? But for most women, having it encapsulated makes that a possibility to reclaim those nutrients that are lost in the placenta in the birth process. And many find that. For you, have that for any of your births, and did you find placenta encapsulation to help you with the postpartum depression?
I didn't. I actually just trained last year in placenta encapsulation. So I know that a big part of it is evidence-based care. Mm-hmm. And a lot of mothers want to know, where is it? What culture does that come from that we're supposed to internalize our placenta? And so a huge part of that for me was I couldn't answer those questions. Uh-huh. So I remember really seeking out. I said, I want to be able to find this information because I don't want them to think that I'm just offering them another service to charge something. No, there are real benefits there. And if a mother wants to know, where does it actually say this? What hormone is it specifically? What nutrient is it? So being able to break that down, the course that I took was so in depth about so many aspects of the placenta, the hormones, being able to talk to mothers about each of those benefits to them, where this comes from. If you need me to point you to an article so that we know that this is not something that we're making up. Mm-hmm. We do talk about how animals have done that. We do talk about for mothers who are like still a little squeamish, the options that they have. You can make it into a smoothie. Some mothers have it raw. Some mothers have it put into tinctures or capsules. So there's a lot of options that you have there. And it's not just, I think most moms go, oh, something for my body, you want me to put that back there. But it's like, it's provided so much nutrient for your baby. Mm-hmm. Why would you give that away? It's your organ, number one. You can request that it be kept with you at the hospital. Like most mm-hmm. moms don't know that. They don't know what happens because their first thought is, oh, there's my baby. And they're delivering the placenta, and then the placenta just goes away. So they have no idea this is discarded as a waste material in the hospital. You have the option to say, either my postpartum doula is coming to pick that up, or I want to have it, I want to keep it. You come with your own transportation material and take it home, get it on ice. You can do a lot of these things yourself, which I wouldn't recommend because you're supposed to be resting and being right on hands and foot. So let somebody who specializes in this do it. But there's so many benefits to it to restore that back into your body, which mm-hmm. already just left your body. Mm-hmm. So just being mindful of that, like, again, it's the distraction of where sometimes your medical staff wants your distraction to be, or where you're just naturally distracted. Of course, your first thought is your baby, not your placenta. I know I can think back to those 2 births. I don't know what happened after the baby got there. Mm-hmm. It was just like, oh, my baby. She had 5 fingers, 5 toes, like, each hand, his eyes, nose. I'm just looking at the baby to make sure everything is okay. Everything else that happened after that is a complete blur. Mm-hmm. And for most moms, it's just important to know. You should kind of know everything that's happening. You should know, that how far can you eat during pregnancy? Like, that's a whole nother conversation. But a lot of hospitals say no food or drink, until after you've had the baby. Well, birth is actually a really strenuous process, and you do need to have food or something in your system. Mm-hmm. You can have bone broth. If they're saying that you can't have anything to eat, you can have Gatorade. So there are things that you can do even in the process of birth to keep your energy up and high. And so I know a lot of moms, they fall asleep right after. It's so exhausting. But just being aware of what you can keep in your body to keep your body up to par, because mm-hmm. it's a strenuous so strenuous on the body to give birth. And then right after that, what are your options for receiving the right type of nutrients? You can still have some prenatal vitamins. A lot of moms experience blood loss. This is why a lot of African American moms are dying in childbirth. It's because they're losing too much blood. Being able to, I know it was like annoying when a nurse would come and push down on your fundus to make sure all the bleeding has stopped. And so we need to know, why are those things happening? What is this making right for me, or what is this preventing for me? Mm-hmm. And what is it that I can do to further enhance? Like I tell moms, I'm like, bring extra tangerines, bring crackers, bring water. in your bag when you pack for the hospital, because you may have to wait an hour or two before the cafeteria opens, depending on what time you have your baby. You need to eat right afterwards. Like, you got to have something, and all they're going to have for you is graham crackers and cranberry juice or apple juice. You know, bring some things in your bag that's good for you. Every labor and delivery room has a mini fridge, and there are things there. Have your, whoever is in your room, your birth partner, go and warm up your chicken or your soup that you can bring from home, or make you a warm herbal tea. Like, you have so many options to make that experience so much better than just the stoic birthing experience. It can be so much more when you allow it to be, or when you're knowledgeable that it can be.
Right. I'm so glad and grateful that you're doing this work, Regina. It just, it's healing in and of itself and that's why I love interviewing doulas and postpartum doulas on my podcast, because it can feel so overwhelming when we become aware of how much wisdom has been lost and how little our current society values this tremendous work that mothers do, and how much abuse is heaped upon mothers because of that. And it's amazing that we've even survived this long as a species, given that's the case. And it gives me hope for our survival as a species that that doulas like you are attending to this great need, and that you took your experience of not having the care that you needed and feeling the effects of it, I'm sure, after 6 babies, and gradually learning on each one, and saying, you know, and now going far and beyond in the care that you offer the women that you help. It gives my heart a sigh of relief, and I feel just like that, you know, it's like, okay, it's happening. We are moving forward. So I hope listeners feel that too. And so where are you located? Where is your practice?
In the River region. So we're serving in Central Alabama.
Central Alabama in the River region. Which river?
So the River region is considered Montgomery, Prattville, Wetumpka. Those couple of cities is just called the River region.
Is there a particular river that they're around?
The Alabama River.
The Alabama River. Okay. I'm not familiar with Alabama geography. I'm sure I'd look at a map. I'm in California. So, So any listeners there, that's where you can find Regina for local care, maternity care. So you can find her there. Otherwise, please look for postpartum doulas and doulas in your area. And also continue this conversation about the importance of caring for mothers. And mothers, please listen to this conversation about the importance of caring for yourself, because we can't care for others if we are not in our best health, or the degree to which we are healthy determines the degree and how much we can care for others. So if our motivation for not caring for ourselves is that there's too many other people to take care of, well, guess what? We're doing those other people a disservice by not caring for ourselves. So we really need to reverse that societal delusion about the importance of mothers and caring for mothers and caring for ourselves as women. So thank you so much for all the ways that you've articulated that. And if anyone wants to get a hold of you, could you share your contact information?
Sure. So you can visit the site. It's tinyfeetandheartbeats.com. So heartbeats with an S. Or you can send me an email, doula@tinyfeetandheartbeats.com.
I love the name of your site. It's so great. Thank you so much for joining us. And I also want to share that this podcast, the Womb-Centered Healing Podcast, is produced by the Womb Healing Temple, which is the collaborative online community that I founded and I'm creating and bringing collaborators like yourself, Regina, and anyone listening into that online community, creating a global community of womb-centered healing practitioners, and either personal practitioners or professional practitioners, all of us coming together to support each other in reorienting our attention and our awareness and our practices towards life, especially the life produced by the womb. And we have an upcoming online summit called the Embodied Shakti Summit. So if you're interested in hearing more speakers like Regina speaking about the practices of embodiment, of Shakti or creative feminine life force energy from numerous different traditions, join us for the Embodied Shakti Summit by going to embodiedshaktisummit.com and signing up there. It's a free summit, and look forward to sharing future podcast episodes with you as well as the summit. So thanks so much for joining us, and until next time.